First debate is over. There was a little delay, but they got through all of it. A disinterested viewer might conclude from having watched it carefully and listened to it that both debaters made their points effectively and knowledgeably, and that while at times they got into a little bit of Washington jargon and shorthand, it was nevertheless a presentation unusual in political discourse, a presentation of two differing points of view, two differing philosophies, and each candidate seemed quite clear on what voting audience he was trying to reach and trying to impress. So there certainly will be differences of opinion on who won and who lost, and even differences of opinion on the question, did anyone win? John Chancellor is in Philadelphia with Ed Newman. John?
Ed Newman, as you know, was the moderator of tonight's debate. I was in the audience in the balcony of the Walnut Theater, and the main question here in Philadelphia at this hour is, what happened? We don't know. We think that something like an amplifier, an audio amplifier for the sound in the theater, may have burned out, but we're waiting now for some answer for this. Ed, really extraordinary 28-minute delay with the President of the United States sitting there.
It was indeed, but I was much struck by the way in which President Ford took this and Governor Carter took it. They couldn't have been easier, and once they understood what was happening, they couldn't have been more patient and cooperative. And I think that in some way this incident may have made the two of them rather friendlier to each other. They were in this pickle together. And when they said goodbye after the debate, and incidentally, Mrs. Carter came in and kissed her husband as soon as we were off the air, and then he introduced her to President Ford. It seemed to me they were very much friendlier than they were when the debate began, when they greeted each other before the debate.
Well, looking over my notes here just before the sound went off, they were saying some kind of rough things to one another.
Yes.
Carter was saying, if you want to hold me responsible for the Democratic Congress of which I was not a member, should I hold you responsible for the Nixon administration of which you were a member? And then it went out, and I have written here that they both looked like people who'd had their pockets picked. And I think what they had, if they had a greater sense of camaraderie at the end, it was that sort of camaraderie that they'd gone through a disaster together.
Yes, I think so. President Ford said to Governor Carter, congratulations, Jimmy. See you in San Francisco. They both made remarks about studying and preparation for it, and they left, it seemed to be pretty good friends.
Well, certainly less than the cold and kind of formal handshake we had at the beginning. Now, back to David Brink.
John, it did look as if it had their pockets picked, like two debaters carefully prepared, loaded, ready to go, and at one point during their presentation discovered nobody was listening. We'll be back in a moment with an excerpt or two from some of what was said and some more reaction from Philadelphia.